Welcome back everyone to more of our custom career mode and career experience. And we're coming off a race in Atlanta that was a lot of fun, and I feel like we made a lot of progress on the setup. Now, that certainly doesn't mean that all of our woes are gone that we've experienced in the first couple of races, but I do feel like we're making headway on the setup and on our longer run speed. We're still running very short races that are nowhere near a full fuel run. And at this point, I'm pretty sure we're just not going to be able to keep up with the AI for a full fuel run. It just doesn't seem any way to me that we're going to have the kind of speed over the long run that we need to compete with them. I could be wrong because I'm certainly not going to stop working on the setup. But at this point, I think we can get better, but I'm not sure we're going to ever get enough speed for me to feel comfortable doing long races and feel like we can hang with those guys and maintain position over the long run. But we'll see how things go. But Atlanta was a lot of fun. Now, we qualified, of course. We started in the back, and I think it was 29th. It might have actually been 28th, as, again, I'm steadily trying to remove AI cars from the car set so that I can get down to a limit below which I feel comfortable running some VR races. And our race finish, we finished 18th. But of course, you take 25 from that, and we finished 40th. So since that's the last position in the grid. Now, I could put a number higher than 40 here. It's not going to mess things up. But since the overall race payouts have 40 slots, I'll stick with 40 as the max number I put in. And of course, we already know how much that pays from race number 1 at Vegas. We've got our sponsorship money that fills in auto-magically. And then we move over to see that once again, we've made a little over 22 grand. Once again, we did not have any chassis damage, although there were a couple of times that I thought that was not going to be the case. There were a couple of times that we had some contact and I thought it was going to turn into something big. But fortunately, it did not. We came out the other side with minor contact and minor damage, so no need to worry with this at all. So now that we've got that taken care of, let's actually hop over for a moment and look at series number 5, which is our super late model team. Because number 1, I want to run a couple of races here, and then I want to talk to you guys about a plan that I have for the future. Again, this is such a huge amount of fun for me in this career experience is the ownership mode. I love being able to hire drivers and generate these finishes because I never know exactly what the finishes are going to be, what our sponsorship offers are going to be, all those types of things. I really enjoy that as much as I do running the races myself. And I got to thinking about some plans for where we could take this in the future. And you guys might remember back to the very first video of this season in the Cup Series, where I sort of laid out these first 5 series and where I want to go ultimately in the ownership mode, starting at super late and then eventually to ARCA, trucks, and Xfinity, eventually owning full teams, 4 car fields in each of those. However, an idea came to me that I think would be really neat to do because it involves some driver progression. So let's take a look at the series financials. And in the series financials, we have a list of the default series. Now, our default series, we really haven't paid any attention to below super late model. I mean, we looked at super late model. We know ARCA, trucks, and so on are above that. And of course, we've got some IMSA series in here as well. IndyCar is in there. But we haven't really looked at anything below that. And one thing that I really want to do after thinking about it is I want to do some dirt super lates and the dirt midgets. And the reason I want to do those is because there's some drivers that I want to bring up through the ranks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop dirt super late models. So series 12, I'm going to drop it in 6. Okay, so if we come back, so we're going to have our super lates and then we're going to have our dirt super lates. And right below that in series 7, I'm going to grab the midgets, which are number 13, So we're going to drop this in there. Again, we're not quite ready to do anything just yet. But we've got everything all set to make this happen in the future, because what I want to do, and I'll go ahead and spell this out, and we'll see, maybe I need to make some tweaks to this along the way. But what I want to have happen is, I got the idea, why don't I take an all-female team? So Taylor Reimer, Jade Avedisian, and Kaylee Bryson, from the midgets up to the super lates in the dirt, and then up into ARCA and then trucks. Why don't I run them through there, and then we'll see where we go from there. Maybe I run them all the way up into the Cup Series, maybe Xfinity trucks, who knows. But the idea came to me, and I thought, now that would be really cool to do. So that is kind of what I am planning on doing. Now, most of the time, I really enjoy using this interested driver section to find drivers, but this is one of those times where this feels like a great idea that I just cannot pass up. So that now gives us 7 series that I want to be a car owner in, and you can see it doesn't take long for me to get really excited and come up with some ideas on how I want to spend a whole lot of money in this career experience. So we've got 621,000. Let's hop back over to our super lates, because once again, I want to run a couple of more races. And of course, we need a total of 3 finishes to generate. So let's hop over here to our area, and I'm going to drop the highlight right here next to 16, just so you can see where I'm at and where I'm looking. And then I'm going to hit F9 to refresh the spreadsheet. And here we go. Let's see what we got. So we got 13, 10, and 9. Once again, great finishes. 13, 10, and 9. So it looks like car number 3 has gotten some very good finishes last couple of races. I mean, very consistent. And then not quite as good here out of our number 1 driver, which I believe is Bubba Pollard in the list, but still, I mean, look at this average finish. We are at what? Average is 9.2. So I'm not going to be too mad about that. And without this 19th place in there, it would be much higher than that. So that's race number 1. And again, those guys, you guys who have been with me for the first couple of videos know what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for an event that doesn't quite go our way. So let's see if we get one of those this time. Once again, F9, and oh, it's almost like I spoke it into existence. 32, 13, and 9. 32, 13, and 9. Oof, Bubba was not on it today. 32, 13, and 9. So team 1 was definitely not where they needed to be. So let's hop over. All right, let's make sure that we got what we need. And by the way, I haven't forgotten about these driver salaries. We're going to put those in there in a minute. I just wanted to get the driver finishes generated, and then we'll take care of this. All right, so chassis damage. We know we're going to have some, but team 1, we're going to see what we get. So I'm looking for this number right here. Okay, so I'm going to drop the cursor there for just a moment. F9. Woo, okay, we only get 25%. Now, as I explained in the career experience videos, this is a random chance between 1 and 4 in order to simulate 25 to 100% damage. And it is heavily weighed toward 25%. Heavily weighed toward that. And then heavily weighed against getting 100%. But as you can see here, the higher values of 75 and 100% do happen, but you're much more likely to get 25 and then beyond that, 50%. But as you can see from Team 4, it does happen from time to time that you get these higher percentages. Fortunately for us, we didn't have to worry about it this time because that would have been a lot of money, and we need all the profit that we can get. All right, so now let's go ahead and clean up some things here. And let's grab our driver's salary for these 2 races. We'll drop them in there. And of course, that makes the profit come down even more. So a profit of about 59 grand this time. Okay, still not bad. But keep in mind, it took us 3 cars to generate that in profit with some pretty decent finishes overall. So yeah, we're not going to make a ton of money here and expand extremely fast. That's what we need the Cup Series for. But overall, I'm certainly going to take that. Now we are here at race 8. So I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'll hold off. So after the 10th race, I want to do another adjustment here in our relative performance. So we'll wait until next video to do that. I was going to go ahead and do it today, but I think I'll go ahead and hold off for now. Now there's one more thing. Let me scroll back over. Let's talk about this for a moment. Again, just trying to give you some options, some ideas that come to my mind in this spreadsheet, some ideas on what you can do. And so I got to thinking, okay, I'm going to want to run a few super late model races from time to time at places like Nashville Fairgrounds. So how could I do that? And what I'm going to do is, if we already have a full 4-car team when it comes time to run the fairgrounds, because, again, sliding back over here, I know the fairgrounds are coming up here, race 11. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the crown jewel at the end of the year, because I plan on this. And by the way, I think this is, let's go ahead and fill this in. Yeah, that'd be race 31. I'm going to call that a season in the super lates. And that'll be our final race. And by the way, I'm not planning on putting any points money down here either, which is right here, any championship money at the end of the year. Not for the super lates. We'll do it for some of the other series, but I'm not planning on doing that for the super lates. We'll just let it be all races. But I want to run this race. As things stand right now, I plan on running this race. So what happens if we have a 4-car team here and I want to run that race? Well, we'll call it a one-off. I'll simply change this to a 2. And that way they will prepare an additional chassis for that race. And that'll be it. That will be it. I'll simply change that to a 2. And we'll have that additional chassis. And then I'll just leave it like that. I'm not going to change it back to a 1 afterwards. We'll leave it like that. That way, we'll have an additional chassis anytime I want to run a race. But it'll be a one-off. It won't be a 5-car team all of the time. So that's some of the ideas that I have here for the spreadsheet. But again, it's pretty much endless in the way that you can go about this thing. So far I have to say, our 3 drivers have done amazingly well. We've had a couple of finishes that generated some damage, but that's okay. Overall, our guys are getting the job done. With the average finishes that we have so far, I cannot complain. I mean, imagine showing up at the track and having 3 cars in the top 10. That's pretty nice. That is nice. And we did it, what, twice in a row there. Our first race with a total of 3 teams. So, hey, I'm pretty happy about that. Yes, I know this is 11th, but I mean, we're right there at it with all 3 of our teams. So with that in mind, we have run our races. Let's head back to the home screen and see that we have $759,000. So again, we're not quite ready for this marketing level, and that's because we're still looking to expand into that 4th super late model team. And while we might just have enough money to do it now by the skin of our teeth, we're going to hold off. I'm not going to rush that and try to do it this time. We'll wait until possibly after our next video to do that, after we run another race. And which race is that going to be? Well, for the Cup Series, if we scroll back over here, that is Chicago. So we're getting somewhere on our setup. I'm going to keep tuning on this thing. Chicago, we already know the AI run the top. So they're actually about a half lane to a full lane off the wall. So that means that passing them is almost got to be done on the bottom. So I'm going to work hard to get our car to be not only stable, but rotate enough that we can run the middle to the bottom of the track, because we're going to need to make a lot of passes in order to make up some ground at Chicago. Can we make it happen? Can we get the finish that we need in order to continue moving forward in our progression? We're about to find out. Welcome everyone to the Chicagoland Speedway. A fantastic racetrack, but unfortunately it is filled with a lot of AI issues, and we'll talk about both of those as the race goes on. But first, let's get through the details of today's race. We'll be running a 30-lap race against an AI skill spread of 80 to 110. So we're using the same skill spread and lap count that we have been to start the season, and I anticipate lowering that skill spread, probably starting with our next race at Charlotte, and bringing it down just a little bit so we can get a little bit better finishes during the race. As far as the AI here at Chicagoland, well, the track itself is fantastic. It is wide, it's got bumps, it's got character, multiple grooves, you name it. Unfortunately, the AI have serious issues on the front stretch. They crowd each other on the front stretch going through by the start-finish line, and it's very easy to get wrecked by them if you don't go far enough down onto the apron. They will shove you down to the apron or just simply wreck you if you don't go down there. Same thing going into turn one, they crowd the wall. So if you're in the outside groove, you have to basically get right up against the wall to avoid contact. And it can be a huge mess getting the race started. In fact, this is my third or fourth
green flag
try at getting this race started. We just simply can't make a lap because of that. So watch the outside groove. You do not want to be on the outside right now. You can see, there they go. No actual wreck, it looks like, but the outside groove was a mess. They got forced straight into the wall. So this, believe it or not, will all sort itself out, but we're going to go with it as best we can, because this is about the best you can get here at this track. Really thought they had these issues sorted out at one point here in Chicago, and then they seem to have resurfaced in recent updates.
In the top 20.
Alright, so you heard the guy. We're in the top 20 right now. So the AI are going to run the top, and on brand new tires, they are extremely fast. Much faster than me. So I'm essentially just going to leave a groove open up there because I can do nothing with them. Even running wide open, I've got nothing for these guys. So we'll talk about our setup as things move along in today's race. 30 laps certainly is not a long race, but it's plenty of time for us to talk about some of the things we need to. As so far, I feel like our career is going fantastic here in Cup. Now granted, our finishes are going to be terrible for a few reasons right now, but that's okay. That's not everything. We're working on setups, we're working on the overall feel of the car. What does the car want? Where does it want to be on the track? How do I need to drive it? All those types of things. And I feel like I'm getting a much better handle on the setup itself. The testing is paying off. Now it's just about, from track to track, trying to find that balance of getting the car secure without getting it loose or too tight. So we'll see where we end up here at Chicago, but I am really in favor of this particular setup. It's worked out very well. As you can see, as things start to spread out a little bit, I mean, we're hanging in there with them. We're not exactly running them down, but at the same time, they're not really running away from us either. So you notice that I'm trying to run a little lower on the track than these guys. I did not really practice very much up in the groove that they run predominantly, simply because I wanted the passing lane. I knew that running up there where they're at isn't going to get us anywhere. So I practiced running the middle and the bottom like you see me doing now, trying to find any bit of fresh air that we can get. All of my practice is done really in the clean air for the most part. Every once in a while I'll run up on some cars where I'll get to see how it feels in dirty air, but not for very long usually. The goal is to have this set up better for the longer run. That's really what I'm working toward, and trying to keep it rotating without getting it too loose. Right now, we're doing pretty good. It's definitely a little bit on the loose side, but not too bad.
Still there.
I think I've got enough stability in it to keep us in the game. All right, here's where we're going to have to get. If we're around the other AI cars, we're going to have to get down this apron, or they will wreck us. I speak from experience, and those of you who have run this track against the AI, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if you have the avoid me checked in the options or not, they will run you over.
Still there.
All right, let's try to get down to this bottom. This is why I practiced doing this. The bottom is certainly not where you're going to keep the momentum, but it's where they don't run it. So you got to go where they're not. I tried to make the car as good as I could down here on the bottom. Are we still 3 wide? I don't think so.
Hold your line.
Nope, maybe we are.
Hold your line. Outside. Still there. Clear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was the kind of handling we needed. I was able to just drive by those 2 guys on the bottom, and that's what you need. So a total of 30 laps, we're a third of the way through. So after 10 laps, we find ourselves just inside the top 15, even after the chaos of the start. Oh, got caught by a couple of bumps there. That certainly didn't help anything, but this is what I was looking for. Very happy with the setup right now. Again, the individual adjustments you can make at the very end of a setup as you're putting everything together to make it a little bit on the loose side, a little bit on the tight side, that's where I'm at now. That's how happy I am with this particular setup. I've been able to get the ride heights where I want them. Now there's still a few more things I need to test because I think there's room for further improvement, but I'm very happy with where we are as of now. Our development has been going very well. Oh, stayed on the bottom. I drove it in there trying to keep our position and that momentum.
Keep to the bottom.
Wasn't able to quite do it as well as I wanted to. Oh, you can see the 24 in deep trouble on corner exit there. I'm getting as far away from these guys as I can.
Keep low. Stay low. Clear outside.
All right, so couldn't quite do anything with them. They just have a little bit too much speed for me overall. So we're going to bide our time. It's lap 10. So I'm going to stay in line here. Then when we get to the corner.
Got one outside. Got on the bottom, 3 wide.
Oh yeah, the car really hooked up right there. Really hooked up.
Hold your line.
So if we can just hold a little bit of this until we get to turn 3.
Keep low. Got on the bottom, 3 wide. Hold your
Oh
line.
yeah, the car is definitely hooked up.
Outside.
Right there, that's what I need.
Clear outside.
Clear outside is what I was looking for, that way I don't have to get down on the apron.
You're in the top 10. Good job.
So far, the car is handling really good. I mean, you can hear it through the corner. I'm having to play with the throttle some, but that's on the bottom of 3 wide. Now that we've got a little bit of clean air, let's see what it does now. And I've really tried to tune this thing to be better, to have more downforce and more overall grip on the long run than it does the short run. So I really want to see if that pays off better than what we've seen in the past. But don't get me wrong here. I'm not expecting to be able to keep up with these guys on the long run. At this point, I think that's just beyond our reach, or beyond my reach, I'll say. All right, so far so good. Clean air. You can see the guys behind us, they might catch us, but they're not running over us right now. They're inching their way toward us, and the guys in front are not blowing our doors off, running away from us. And this car is handling like a dream right now, right on that edge of loose and tight going through the corner. So even though I still think there's a little bit more to be had from the setup, a little bit more overall downforce and grip, very happy. And that's a long way to come in a short amount of time since Vegas, where we were incredibly loose, as you might remember. Vegas was a lot of fun to drive, but boy, was it on edge. When you hear me tap the throttle a little bit there in the middle of the corner, that's generally to try to help the thing rotate. I like to drive off the right rear, so I like to set the car up to have a little bit of extra under throttle. You can see the 24 has caught us, no surprise there. And we're hanging in there with these guys in front. I mean, we're in the top 10 right now. Now, I don't know how long we're going to be able to stay here, but we're here. And we're holding our own right now. I would love nothing more than to be able to catch that group in front of us. I don't know that we're going to be able to, unless we can latch on to the 24, because I got to believe he's coming past us at some point. I mean, he caught us too quickly to just think he's just going to stay back there. Oh, that was a great corner entry into 3. Was able to get back into the gas, stay in it. So, folks, this is the best I got right here.
When to go straight.
I mean, we're 10 to go. We're 20 laps into the race. And while the setup is certainly not perfect, everything is going as good as I could plan and hope for. So the speed we've got versus them on the long run, they're at least not running us over right now to get by us. You can see we're starting to build a little bit loose. And I really don't want him to go by us on the bottom. I want him to go by on the top if he's going to go by. Because that way he keeps his momentum, I keep mine. But if he goes by me on the bottom, then I'm going to have to go up the track where I don't want to be. But he seems like he's really intent on going by on the bottom.
Keep it on top.
That, and I don't want him to squeeze me into the wall.
Keep it on top.
Alright, so I'm going to have to get real close to this wall here.
Keep high.
You could hear him get out of the gas right there. I hope you guys could hear that. But you could hear him have to get out of the throttle in the middle of the corner there as he wanted to get back into it for corner exit. I'm giving him the entire high side, which is where he should be wanting, but he's not taking it.
Got one inside. You're the top
Okay,
10.
nope, he's coming back.
Keep it on top.
And I'm not just going to give him this
Stay
spot,
high.
even though I know he's faster. He's going to have to
Stay
earn
right
it.
there.
Oh,
Clear inside.
couldn't quite hold it.
Got one outside. Keep low. Clear the stop.
Yep, I can't quite fight him for that. He's just too fast. So this is going to lead to a lot of fun when we lower the skill, the overall skill, a little bit. Because, I mean, here we are, fighting for a top 10. Now, granted, there were some issues at the start of the race for some of these cars, but hey, we are where we are. can't really determine what happened at the beginning. If iRacing would fix the AI, this issue has been here at this track forever. If they would get that fixed, we wouldn't have that problem.
5 laps to go.
All right, 5 more times around. Let's see if we can finish this thing off strong. Car's still handling quite nice. Building a little bit tight on entry. Not too bad though. And then a little bit loose on exit, just depending on how hard I've got to push with other cars around. Now if I'm in clean air, it's not bad at all. We can get around this track very nice. But in traffic, if I'm having to adjust my line and really deal with the other cars, then it can get a little loose, a little tight. But at this point, I think that's just the way it's going to be regardless of what we got for a set. Alright, so he's passed us. He's pulling away a little bit. Not as fast as I thought he might, but he's getting there. Just giving me an overall idea on how fast these guys are. I mean, I can't do anything with that. He's just flat out faster. And then the guys in front of him, 2.8, 2.9 seconds. At one point, we were something like 1.1, 1.2 behind them. So you can see that as the run goes on, they're getting stronger and stronger, or I guess a better way of putting it is they're not dropping off very much like we are. And I must say, I'm not sure how much more I'm going to have on a long run here. I'm not sure how much more I can dial in because this car is handling quite nice. Which is a shame because I would love to run some longer races. But at this point, I just don't see any way that it can
White
happen.
flag next time by a stripe.
We're losing too much on the long run. So white flag is out. Sitting here in 11th position. Man, why couldn't we get that top 10? Because once we do our relative performance adjustment, hey, we're not finishing last today. We're going to get a little bit more money. And we're hanging with him. He's only 0.6 of a second ahead of us. So coming off turn 4, bringing it to the start-finish line, this fantastic track has given us a great finish. Just outside the top 10, we'll come home 11th. That was a lot of fun.
There's a flag.
That was a lot of fun. This track,
We'll get them next time.
I mean, it's some wide open racing. It's 2 wide, it's 3 wide, sometimes it's 4 wide. But it is a lot of fun. So many grooves available to run. So much room to race, even a little bit more room on the front stretch than I would prefer. But yeah, this track is amazing. Sad to see it no longer on the schedule. I know they want to do that street course so bad, and hopefully it goes well. But this is a great place to race. And that is going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and stick around for more of our custom career mode and career experience.